The other day you were talking about the last 5 games of the season and how you feel you're playing better than you were at the beginning of that. I just wonder where you think you've improved as a team coming down the stretch here these last couple of games since that Rutgers game.
I think that we're executing a little bit better. I mean, losing JT was a little bit of a setback for us. We're 3 games in without him, but I don't know. I mean, we weren't as good as we needed to be defensively against Michigan State. And those are things we've been working on this week because it pertains to Penn State. It's the basic course of defense. But I think that we're moving better offensively. I think we're executing better. We're shooting the ball better. So with that said, I feel like we've got a little more of a sense about us that we're playing better basketball.
How important is it to grow that sense and to get guys to buy into that when you start getting into the part of the year where it's win or go home?
Well, you hope that that's sort of established, and I think that's been one of the things with this basketball team is that level of consistency. Just looking back over the years of going to conference tournaments and kind of what we had done leading up to it, it's a little bit different with this team because there's not as many givens in terms of exactly how we're going to play and what we're going to do. So with that said, I hope that our guys go in there. I think somebody told me yesterday, besides Mark, we've got between Cam and Kata collected 24 minutes in the conference tournament on this team. So it's going to be new for these guys. And hopefully what we've done is we've got a little bit of an establishment in terms of how we're going to play.
That JaQuan was just here and he said he was just FaceTiming with Evan a little bit ago about sort of what it takes to play in the Big Ten tournament, and it's new for him like it is for a bunch of guys on your team, but just with some of the games we've seen with JaQuan where there's nights where he just really can't be stopped, and I know there's nights where he's scoreless too, but if are you intrigued, I guess, to see like what JaQuan might do on a stage like this given sort of the examples he's given you of what he can be when he's on?
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued to see how they all do. I'm not going to lie to you. But I think with that said, and I think Evan was spot on with them just in terms of kind of what we've been saying. I mean, now is the time to play your best basketball. You can have a bad couple minutes in a game, but you've got to play yourself out. You can't have a bad game. And that's sort of been the message with these guys of hey, we've got to play forward. But, I think JaQuan has shown to really play some great basketball in great environments. So hopefully, that carries over him going back to his home state and he plays well for us.
Was Evan talking to just JaQuan or was it the whole team?
No, it was just Evan. JaQuan walked in and we had Evan on FaceTime. Yeah, they got the Grizzlies tonight, but Michael's not playing, so Gillies. And Evan wanted gear.
Looking back on that, when you guys did play Penn State, obviously it's you did a pretty good job on them defensively. That's such a low scoring output. Kind of a weird game to think of now because you had Tate and they lost Garner really early. How much can you look at that game and draw from it as you prepare for them this time?
Well, it's kind of all you've got. Just in terms of, obviously we got all their other games, that sort of thing. But, trying to refresh our guys' minds, the first thing we did was we looked at that game. The one kid didn't play either. He had mono or strep throat or whatever. But, I think from that perspective now we go in and we look at what they've done, the last 5 games and what the run is. A few changes, but, we just want to make sure because lots happened since January 25th, and we just wanted to have them to kind of refresh who these guys were.
When you've looked at Penn State since then, obviously they have a couple of impressive wins, and I think people might think Penn State and that the name doesn't carry a lot of cachet maybe, but they've done some things pretty well the last couple of weeks. What do you see from them? How are they playing as they come into the tournament?
Well, I think Garner and Taylor, number 10, those guys are scoring at a very, very high level. And I think from the standpoint of the other guys are kind of falling into their places. The big wins they've had over Iowa, Indiana out there, just sort of outworked them and made plays down the stretch. So I think from that perspective, we've shown our guys that, and they understand Penn State's a lot better basketball team than the one we played in late January.
This is obviously a different challenge for you, but as a guy who's made several deep runs in the Big Ten tournament, outside of just playing really well, what else has to happen for you to advance, every single day in this?
Well, you've got to, in some ways, hit your stride. And as I said earlier, you've got to have the ability to play through some bad stretches. I mean, you look at every run that we've ever had, we've had some bad 4 minutes. We've had some, we've been down. We've finished the game strong. It's really sort of hitting your role, guys understanding that hey, it's kind of on the line. We've got to play together. I mean, there can be no individualism as you go into a tournament like this because teams are what advance.
The mentality you want these guys to go to Indianapolis with? I mean, you want them thinking, hey, we're going to play 4 games in 4 days, or is that too complicated? We're going to Indianapolis to play Penn State? I mean, what is the thought process?
I think from my perspective, it's always been one game at a time, and you focus on one thing, and that is beating Penn State. And if you're fortunate enough to do that, we know that we will play the winner of Bye and Michigan State. Hopefully Bye is on one in that game. But, I think from that perspective, you know who you're playing. We played them 2 of the last 3 games. But I don't want our guys thinking Michigan State. I want them focused on one thing and one thing only. It's kind of like this song, Tuesday's Gone by Leonard Skinner. Once that game's over, Tuesday's gone, the train rolls on, and away we go.
Will JaySean be able to make the trip with you?
Yeah, he's going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, if anything, has he been able to be around the team? Has he, since the surgery, I guess, what has he been able to do just from a standpoint of being a body around?
Yeah, he was in practice the other day. Was not there yesterday. He's catching up with his homework because he missed a lot of school and said he had a lot to do. I told him to stay home and get that squared away. But he will be with us just in terms. And it's great. He texted me after Saturday's game and kind of gave me his assessment and that sort of thing.
Can having a guy like that, who obviously meant a lot, you've called him the heart and soul of this team, can just having him around be a benefit for a tournament even though he can't play?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, JT is one of those guys that is you enjoy being around him. Our guys enjoy being around him. I enjoy being around him. So just seeing his arm in a sling and knowing what he gave us while he was injured, I hope is motivational for our guys.
JaySean, too, I mean, it's his shooting arm, and I know that was something he wanted to improve coming into this season, and it looked like he had. Is there worry that because he just can't use that arm for a while that he's might have to start over again or be behind the 8 ball a little bit with that jump shot when he finally gets back? Well,
it's funny because I told him the story I once read about a prisoner of war, and he was locked up for years, and every day he played golf in his mind, being serious about this. And when he finally got released, he got back and went out and shot par, and he hadn't touched a golf club. So I said, we got to get you visualizing your shot, and we're going to do as much mental as we can, knowing that we can't do the physical. And so I'm thinking he's going to be over a 50% three-point shooter when he comes out of it.
Slightly off topic, but DAngelo is on quite a run right now for LA. A, have you noticed it? And B, do you ever catch yourself going, God, what would we be like if he were still here?
Yeah. Yes, and yes. I've done that a lot over the years at Ohio State, and but no, it's great to see DAngelo playing at the level he is, and it looks like he's really. In fact, Evan and I were just talking about it. He's kind of settled in to the NBA life, and he's been through the gamut of all the teams, and I've said this from day one. I think he's going to be a tremendous pro, and very excited for him because he feels good right now.
Dad, you always reach the 20-win threshold, and I don't imagine that the Matta family uncorks champagne like the 72 Dolphins or anything like that, but does anyone outside the media ever notice that accomplishment? Do you get an email from Gene? Do your assistants give you an extra pat on the back? Does anyone notice that besides us?
No, I mean, Dom Perignon at home, but no, nobody really, nobody ever says anything. So I appreciate it. Thank you. If we're fortunate enough to get there.
You said after the game, you were asked about Daniel Giddens, and you said that was not acceptable, and that's something you'll address with him. Has that been addressed, and will there be any sort of I don't know, punishment going forward, game time, anything like that?
No, we've taken complete control of it, or care of it, I should say. Yeah.
Care to describe how you took care of it?
Just talked about it, and he had to do a couple things, but we're good to go. All right, thanks, guys.